the coming months.
Yeah, that'll be super big. You know, you'll see me definitely bidding on the Man United cards.
Yeah, I'm guessing you won't be the only one though.
Which is a problem. Cool. All right, cool. Awesome. Hello everyone. JJ from Stakefish. This is the Sorare. Really happy to have everyone here, and also everyone here, and really happy to have Brian here. So first, let me just intro myself, and then I'll pass it to Brian for him to introduce himself. Hi, my name is JJ. I'm the strategy and operations at Stakefish. It is an infrastructure provider company for blockchain projects. So we run validators on proof of stake of networks, and then also validators for middleware protocols. And Brian, do you want to intro yourself?
Yeah. Thank you, JK, for this great AMA. I'm Brian O'Hagan. I basically grow at Sorare, and Sorare is a digital collectible football platform where you can buy, trade, sell, and engage with football entities that are officially licensed.
Awesome, thank you. So today's AMA is really about trying to learn more about Sorare, just have a few questions around the NFT, which has been recently, and then of course the crypto game scene as well. And then also I'll be diving into like how maybe potentially Ethereum might be relevant for Sorare, and how Ethereum might be relevant, for you personally as well. I mean, by nature, because Stakefish is pretty well involved during the scene. So I'll have all these discussions. I'm really hoping that this is like a more casual discussion type of forum first. And afterwards, we're going to open up the floor to any questions from the audience. Please post your questions on the YouTube comments and then chat, and then we'll pick out some good questions to ask Brian. So, first of all, can you, Brian, let's start off with a few questions to you.
And in 2017, this new technology in Ethereum, NFTs, enabled the act of digital collecting. And so really, what we saw that, and the founders saw that, they thought, it would be really cool to have digital collectibles of sport players and football players, a bit like Panini or Topps. And because these collectibles are digital, you can actually use them in different games. And so what we've done at Sorare is that we've built first a platform where you can trade these officially licensed digital collectibles that are all unique with their serial number or depending on the scarcity. And then you can use these collectibles in a fantasy football game. Fantasy football is a game where you manage virtual teams of players, and based on the performance in real life of these players, you earn points and you are ranked in a global leaderboard. And basically that's what we do. And to be kind of very short about it, the game loop is pretty easy. You come on Sorare, you collect cards, you collect these cards, you build your team, you compose your team, and then you live the game, you watch the game, you enjoy the live experience. And then at the end, if you are good, you can win the competitions, or you can just win rewards if you ranked well. So that's kind of the core gaming loop. And yeah, we were launched in our beta launched in open in December 2019.
Gotcha. And just as Brian just mentioned, like the biggest part of this is the fantasy football end. And Brian first introduced this to me about a year ago. I think it was like June, July of 2020. And the moment I started off, I just had a blast trying to collect these cards and try to win competitions, try to win cards. And it's very, very intuitive the way you guys have built it out. But I'm curious, what sort of motivated this entire sort of application that you guys built out? I understand when you guys were created, but how, what was the sort of founding story behind it?
Yeah, I mean, the founding story is really, the seeing the hype around CryptoKitties back in the days, and thinking, these cats are really cool. But we could work with a really cool IP, and one of the best IPs in the world is Football Brands IP. And so they thought, let's have this really cool IP, and instead of having pure collectibles, let's make a game around these collectibles. And the first game that came to mind was the fantasy football game. And why fantasy football is because people over the world, there's more than 200 million people that play fantasy football. It's a way to connect with the game, and it's really a way to bridge fantasy, visual space, and reality on what's happening in the pitch. And so, they thought that the way we consume football today is a bit broken, and they thought that this would be a really cool alternative to enjoy and experience the game like never before. And there are other football games like FIFA Foot, where you also can collect collectibles, but these are non-blockchain assets, and so at the end of the season, you don't have the collectibles anymore. These are just like database assets in EA's database, and so yeah, it was a real change in terms of paradigm for gamers and collectors to have these assets that they can continue owning, and really owning a piece of the game. So that's kind of the founder story behind and what motivates this application. And the longer term vision is really to have multiple games around these collectibles. So imagine these digital collectibles as the centerpiece of the platform, where you have multiple games around them. And there will be more value accruing to these collectibles, with more games being developed for these experiences.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think you touch on a really interesting point that really dives into naturally dives into the next question, and sort of I think it'd be nice if you could touch on sort of the convergence between NFTs and Sorare. Like, why are NFTs important for Sorare as an application?
Yeah, I think that's really the centerpiece of it. We decided to build NFT or blockchain collectibles on Ethereum as NFTs because it provides something that you don't have anywhere else on the internet, which is visual scarcity. And the act of collecting is motivated by the scarcity of the collectible. And then, other than purely the scarcity of it, it also provides transparency in how many cards we print. It provides also portability. What I was saying, these cards you can use in other games, and so it really has all these superpowers that other non-blockchain type asset wouldn't have, and it also has superpowers, against normal physical collectibles. Authenticity. You can verify these collectibles, and you can use them in games all over the internet, anywhere. So that's really like the superpowers that Ethereum brings to the collecting space, and specifically NFTs.
Yeah, that's super interesting, especially the point you mentioned around how it's portable to anywhere, which is the fascinating part. Like, so basically what you're saying is, if I own, like, for example, like you have in your background there, like Dybala card uh, of like the last season, hypothetically, if that was like his peak, like greatest season ever, I could port that card over and to any sort of application that uses that card, and be able to use Dybala as like my star performer, I guess. Would that be a good characterization?
Exactly. I mean, once you own the Dybala card, you can use it in any game that supports Sorare NFTs. But for instance, Sorare Data, which is a really cool side application, they built their own game called SD11, and you can use your Dybala card in that game. You can also sell it on Sorare's marketplace, but also in any other kind of marketplace that supports NFTs. And today, there's OpenSea, Rarible, and other NFT marketplaces such as Mime and others, and Conchex. And so you could potentially sell these cards also on these NFT marketplaces. So really, the fact that it's an NFT provides a lot more freedom to you as an owner, and as a gamer. And I think that's something completely new that didn't exist before.
Yeah, and then again, like it's a very natural sort of word that comes out at this point, but people have been talking about the metaverse, about how these NFTs could be ported onto other different games, and could easily be interoperable with other games and used anywhere. And so like really looking forward to like more and more games developed around these Sorare cards. But that being said, I'm curious to like take a small step back here because we dived into a bit of the NFT and Sorare space, but I'm curious about your thoughts around the crypto game landscape of these days. Sorare is definitely one of the top ones right now, currently on Ethereum. But like, can you give us like a overview of like the landscape, how it looks today?
Yeah. So in the NFT space, you would have two kind of categories. You would have on one side the pure, I would say, arts-based NFTs, which are also very exciting. And then you would have the rather utility-driven NFTs, especially in the gaming side of things. And so, there's some really cool projects out there. Thinking of all the metaverse-based projects such as Decentraland, CryptoVoxels, Sandbox. With they have a great vision, and there's a lot of work to get to that vision. But it's super exciting to see that they're building a metaverse that is built around NFTs and blockchain assets, where you can truly own a part of these worlds. And then I would say there are all the there's Axie Infinity that does something very interesting also. They merge really well the DeFi space and the NFT space in one experience, and they're very exciting. I think we are very different to them in the sense that they are really targeting kind of the crypto native users that understands the complexity of what a governance token is, and they do have a governance token. On our side, on Sorare side, because we want to go mainstream and want to attract normal football fans all around the world, we try and abstract that blockchain complexity. And then you would also have other experiences in the I'd say sport gaming side of things. So the team behind CryptoKitties, Dapper Labs, they've launched NBA Top Shot, which is a mostly today collectible platform. But yeah, they're also looking at building games around these collectibles. So I think there's really more and more happening, both on Ethereum and not on Ethereum, and it's super exciting to see this space build out because from our perspective, gaming is kind of this Trojan horse for blockchain adoption. I'm seeing that sentence from the co-founder of Immutable, who's also another great card game, Gods Unchained.
Yeah, gotcha. And you mentioned the NBA Top Shots right there, which also like admittedly has seen a ton of interest from people. But interestingly, as you mentioned, it's not on Ethereum. I'm curious, like Sora chose Ethereum, but like, is there a specific reason why you decided to go with Ethereum? And do you foresee like Sora only being purely based on Ethereum in the future?
Yeah, I think so. We chose Ethereum because back in 2018, when the team started thinking about the project, Ethereum was really the only option that you could choose. Actually, back in the day, we also chose a layer two called Loom. Unfortunately, it was probably too early, and the Loom project kind of broke apart. So we were initially on a layer two, and in February last year, we had to move away from that layer two. Actually not February, but May, back to layer one, and Ethereum layer one. And back then, again, we asked ourselves the question: where do we want to be? Should we be on Ethereum? Should we be on another blockchain? Should we be on layer two? Really, Ethereum, even though it only has a bit more than 5 years, is a bit more than 5 year old, was the only viable option for us at that time. And so we moved to Ethereum then, and because it has all this great ecosystem of gamers, of devs, of community members, and it was a very solid experience. And our experience from Loom was there's a lot of platform risk involved in moving to a young project, to young layer two, or to young blockchain. And so we wanted to be on standing on the shoulders of something that it was really used by a lot of people, and that had a great history of success. So that was why we chose Ethereum at the time.
Gotcha. Thank you for the color. That's interesting to hear the reasoning behind choosing Ethereum, and also, yeah, on choosing Loom as well, which we also have supported at one point until I think they've pivoted to other sort of efforts. But yeah, happy to still see you on Ethereum and still like building up, enjoying the success you guys have had so far. You guys have had so far. But obviously, it wasn't probably like a very smooth journey, right? It wasn't like a well-defined journey to get to this point, especially when you're trying to build something that has never been done before, and there's no other projects to really benchmark off of. I'm curious, what were some of the key challenges that you faced while building out Sorare?
So I'd say, like one of the big challenges, the technology aspects, as you mentioned, Ethereum is only 5 years old and it's still very young and very early days. And so being part of this revolution in the space of digital collecting, in the space of scaling a game on a blockchain, would that be Ethereum or any other blockchain, is challenging. So that would be one of the big challenges. The second one is, I would say, the cultural shifts from for brands and IPs, such as the IPs that we work with, the football clubs, the football leagues. They've been used to licensing to games like EA Sports, or to companies like EA Sports, or Panini or Topps. And so seeing, that you can create collectibles on the blockchain, and these collectibles, once they are sold, they are not anymore in the hands of the IP holders. And unlike FIFA Foot, they can't, kind of cancel the cards. There's also a bit of education around this to the football clubs and leagues that we're talking to. So yeah, these would be, I would say, the two main challenges: the tech aspects, and the cultural shift to from physical collecting to digital collecting, especially for IP owners, but also for the wider audience that we target, which are gamers, football fans, that are looking at this and think, is it normal to spend 20 or 30 or 100 euros or dollars on a digital card? Yeah.
I was going to dive into a bit of the technical aspect, but your answer there on the second point just like piqued my interest. And like how hard is it for you to sort of like educate these senior executives around the IP aspects, like in terms of, I guess, just like not just about like these meetings, but like how long do these typically take to convince them?
Yeah, it's a good question. It was harder at the beginning than it is now, because when we first launched, the first league that we launched was the Belgian Pro League, and they kind of took a bet on us because we didn't have a product. We only had slides and an idea, and they said, okay, we'll license the rights to you guys. And yeah, they saw our drive for what we were building, and they trusted us. And then the first few clubs, big names, especially Atletico Madrid, those were the hardest ones. And I think there was maybe a lot of preconceived ideas around blockchain. Is that kind of some sort of blockchain bullshit? Why would you use blockchain for this? And so then there's also a lot of how can you manage the rights? And again, this idea of you license your brand for cards that will exist on in the digital space forever. It's really something new, and for which we don't have, we don't own these cards. Users own them, so they can do whatever they want with them. And so the good analogy with that is the physical space. Actually, when someone, let's say a football league or football club like PSG licenses to Panini in 1982, even if that licensing contract finishes in 1986, well, then in 1987, you'll still have 1982 PSG cards going around, being bought and sold on eBay. And that's, once it's printed, and the fact that it can be the same on the internet felt weird to them, and that's a lot of what we need to educate on.
Gotcha. And then just a quick follow-up question is that, like, was it mainly discussions with the teams or like the league?
We do. So the ambition is to onboard the top 20 leagues in the world. So it's a great ambition to have. We have today 130 clubs. Depending on the size of the club, the size of the league, we either discuss with the club or the league. So yeah, mostly it was clubs, and now we're starting to discuss more and more with lots of leagues to have the whole league in one go. And these discussions take longer. When you discuss with the full league, they need to prove this licensing to the board. They have certain requirements. We have certain requirements. The negotiation can take some time. So So yeah, and the bigger the league, usually speaking, the longer the negotiation. But yeah, we're really excited to already have a few leagues, amongst which the K League, the J League, the Pro League, the DPZ, and the MLS Players Association. And we'll have more in the coming months, and also more clubs in the coming months and weeks. So yeah, I think we'll have a lot of IP by the end of the year, and that's very, very exciting.
Gotcha. And I have to ask, as a football fan, have you ever had to talk directly with players as well?
So actually the league and the clubs own the player rights. So we don't necessarily have to talk to players, but really part of the ecosystem around Sorare is engaging with the cards, hence the players. So we do talk to some players. I was lucky enough to talk to Andre Schuler, who's one of our investors, who's this German football superstar, with Gerard Piqué, who's also one of our investors, who's a Barcelona defender. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be more players like them that will be interested in the game in the future. Yeah.
Yeah, as a football fan, oh my God, that sounds like it sounds like a fascinating future. Just the potential of possibly meeting these football superstars to get this off the ground. It's like it sounds like it's just exciting times ahead. I without a doubt.
And from a cultural perspective, again, having these guys on board and having seeing them understand what we're doing is very, very exciting, because back in 2016 and 2017, I don't think that Gerard Piqué or that Andre Schuler would have been interested in crypto. And I think actually they're not really interested in crypto, but they get why we use crypto. And so for them, it's like they go into crypto through this, and that's what's fascinating, I think, about the Silvers, the Top Shots, and the other gaming blockchain companies, is that we're bringing people in the crypto space through their passion for gaming, for football, for any other thing that is related to the game.
Yeah, and it's like a Trojan in the best sense, I guess, to get people like really interested in crypto and to learn more about it.
Exactly.
And so I want to shift gears a bit and go into sort of discussions around scalability here, because I know you guys really tries to abstract out a lot of the complicated aspects of using Ethereum. And without a doubt, one of the key reasons will likely be around scalability. Like, how big of an issue or how big of a concern is that for Sorare?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a concern. I'd call it a challenge, in the sense that we are built on Ethereum, and we subsidize all the gas fees for our users. And so all the transaction cost of cards being exchanged on Sorare, or cards being minted, are basically paid by the Sorare team. Our Northern Star is UX for users and having the best possible user experience, and that means abstracting all complexity. And if that means paying high gas fees, we'll do it. Obviously, we're looking at ways to scale these, and make sure that we still have the great features of scarcity, transparency, and all of that, whilst also being able to scale to millions of people playing the game. And so that's really been the main challenge, and that with the recent kind of I would say bull market with ETH, and bull market in terms of gas paid, we had to really study the market, see what we could do, how we could improve our scaling of exchanging cards and minting cards. And right now we're looking at all the different solutions that are available out there, and it's a very exciting moment because there's so many different solutions. Actually, I'd be super interested in knowing what is your take on these layer twos and these roll ups, and what stakefish thinks about all of that. You've been very involved in ETH 2.0, so it'll be also super interesting to know what do you guys think.
Yeah, I'm happy to provide a really quick take here. Don't want to steal Sorare's your spotlight here. But yeah, just quickly, I think I think Ethereum 2.0 is going to be pretty critical, I guess, for scalability and for, like, as you mentioned, for user experience, right? You're trying to do your best on making sure user experience is seamless, and part of that is the gas fees. And one of the best ways to make sure gas fees are manageable would be for Ethereum to really level up at this point to Ethereum 2.0. But to be frank, Ethereum 2.0 is still a few years out, I think, like at least 1 or 2 years out. It started off right now, but it's at least 1 or 2 years more out. And before that, as you mentioned, probably layer twos and rollups will be the biggest sort of the solutions to look forward to. I think I got to be very careful about name drops here, but I think some of the sort of layer twos that have been doing well so far and rollups that have been doing well so far, like Optimism, Matic, and XDAI, have all been very well, mentioned around the community, and some of the crypto games actually utilize these solutions. So it'd be fascinating to see how it develops. Honestly, we're also sort of a spectator here, but we're just doing our best to try to support all these scalable solutions scalability solutions out there. So at the end of the day, that applications like Sorare are able to provide that best experience to users. So I want to flip it a bit over to you on like the Ethereum 2.0 front. I did mention like it's still a few years out, but and there's still a ways to go for this to really be just like natively usable. I'm curious, like what could you Ethereum 2.0 researchers and builders keep in mind as they build up Ethereum? Like what can they do to make Sorare more performant and more usable for a more help Sorare make a more usable experience to users?
Yeah, I think so. Now going back to what you said, we actually have the same two rollups. Before Ethereum 2.0, for Ethereum 2.0, I think it'll be critical to see how it can interact with dApps and how dApps can really use the improvements that will come with Ethereum 2.0. Critical is keeping, I would say, to some extent, transaction costs at a minimum, and also making sure the network and the transactions are validated fast enough to have a clean experience. And right now we've built the system on so where transaction has started and hasn't settled. The card still appears in your gallery if you're sending the card to someone. Imagine I'm sending my card to you. Okay, well then it would show in your gallery and it would say transfer in progress. But we'd really like to have an experience where these transfers happen in a few seconds, and the cost to transfer is it's not because we don't want to pay that much. Is that if we do want to have 1 million people on the Ethereum blockchain, we would need to have costs that are manageable to pay for our users. I think you muted, JK. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. Yeah, I think these points you've pointed out are definitely stuff that researchers are keeping in mind. But hopefully, just seeing these sort of anecdotal sort of points, they do prioritize these even more. I'm curious. This isn't a question that like I pinged you before on like that I would be asking, but like I'm curious just because we're on the topic of gas, like. Has EIP 1559, that proposal, ever been like on your sort of radar, on your team's radar?
It's definitely been on our team's radar, and so I think like most projects today, we are waiting for this to pass and to be implemented. And as soon as it will be implemented, it will really help. And so yeah, really looking forward to that. That's like kind of a short-term optimization. Other short-term optimizations are basically optimize the way we transact on the platform and optimize the user experience between when the transaction happens and what happens on server, and then really explore these roll-up opportunities. You mentioned Optimism, which is a great one, and explore layer 2 opportunities with Matic and others. And so from our perspective, we want to find a solution that we can keep for the long term, so that we don't really need to revisit this every year. And so it will be really important to see, what are the long-term solutions that, are working well today and that we expect to work well in the future.
Oh, this is really interesting. So you guys are really actively looking into these scalability solutions today.
We are studying them. We haven't committed to one yet. We are actively studying them because it's important. And as you said, Ethereum 2.0 is probably 1 to 2 years away. So patiently waiting for Ethereum 2.0 is not really uh, an option. We still have to react for the medium term, and so yeah, that's why we are actively studying them.
That's super interesting. I'm quite sure you guys will find the right fit, but I'm very curious to definitely, do another AMA or something just to hear your thought processes and like the reason why you guys chose something, because I believe of sort of the applications out there that have been choosing other layers outside of DeFi, possibly Sorare might be the next sort of biggest application that might be, choosing another a scalability option if you guys do choose to move to a scalability solution. So very 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 keen on looking forward to like what you guys do on that front. Yeah, so like we are closing in on sort of the time where we try to answer some of the questions from the community. But right before then, like just to get on to like sort of some of the closing stuff. I wanted to ask, obviously, what's next for Sorare? What's next on your guys' horizon?
Yeah, great question. I think our objective for the year really is to build a cult-like brand around the cards. Make these collectibles really cool, make the collectible experience a lot better than what it is today. And that's kind of a northern star right now. And so we're really improving that aspect. But I think there's so much more things that we need to improve. One of our critical metrics is looking at the health of the secondary market, and right now we have nearly more secondary market sales than primary market sales, which is a very good thing for us. We find, because it means that people can own a card, but if they want to resell it, they can sell it if they sell it at a fair price. And I think this price discovery also is a very important aspect. Is how much should I sell a card for? When getting alerts on secondary market. So these are all things that we're looking at. So really the collectible experience, the gaming experience that I didn't mention, but that's super important, and the market experience. These would be the 3 pillars. And then obviously adding more teams, adding more clubs, more leagues, more football players to the platform, and improving the general product so that it becomes more mainstream. So we're really scratching the surface of what we can do, and I'm really, really, really excited for the future because, digital collectibles are becoming more and more digital, and we are really in the right trend of things and trend setting this. So it's really exciting.
Gotcha. Any teasers on which continent the next team might be from?
Yeah, it probably would be from the European continent, but it's not set in stone yet. But yeah, to be honest, we're looking at all continents. But yeah, we have some cool discussions with Europe, with Latin America, with Northern America too. So yeah, very exciting.
Awesome. And one final thing. How can people get started on Sorare?
Pretty easy. Sorare.com. Create your account, and then you'll go through our new onboarding that we've just released late last week. And yeah, you can start collecting your common cards and start collecting rare cards, and compete in this week's tournament that's closing on Friday. So you need to enter your team before Friday, and then really own the game, own your game, and live the live experience of watching the football game, seeing your player perform, and seeing your cards score, and potentially earning rewards. There's a lot of rewards and a lot of ETH to earn on Sorare if you're good. Yeah, it's just an exciting way to engage also with crypto and ETH.
Yeah, full disclosure, I've won a few times. It's a really fun. I recommend people to check it out. It's really fascinating and addicting. So check it out, but be careful on how much ETH you spend there. So yeah, now we'll move on to community questions, and so we've gathered some questions that already that the people have asked so far. And so the first question comes from MDJ, who asks. Do you feel the growth in the price of Ethereum and subsequently the rise in gas fees is a risk to Sorare, and do you have plans to deal with this?
Yeah, I don't think it's a risk. I think it's a challenge. It's the challenge that we are actually solving at the moment. The growth of the users, the growth of Ethereum is very exciting. I think it's bringing more people into the Ethereum space, meaning it's bringing more people in the silver ecosystem. And these are generally very good challenges to have. I'm not worried about the future of Sur with rising gas prices. It's more, how we manage it, and we need to manage it in a better way. And we are working on it at the moment. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, in the recent days, basically the gas prices have really increased, and so we've had a bit of longer settlement periods, and that's because we need to adapt our way of working to this new paradigm at the moment.
Gotcha. Awesome. I love how it's never a risk. It's always a challenge that could be always overcome. Uh, and so the next question then comes from James Sun, who asks, how does Sorare view its approach to NFTs as compared to NBA Top Shot?
Yeah. Well, something we didn't talk about is we talked about Ethereum, but we didn't talk about other blockchains. So NVIDIA Top Shot, they built on the Flow blockchain, which is Dapper's blockchain. I think Flow was sort of Dapper's taking a very strong decision in launching their own blockchain. From our perspective, we really like what the Dapper team is doing. I think it's they have a really strong collectible experience, and so that's really exciting. These are things that we could do in the future if we wanted to. They create videos and moments, and we have static cards. We could be changing our collectibles in the future and the way we present them. But we think that the cards are really cool because they also are usable and have utility. And yeah, Dapper is doing multiple games on their blockchain. We are focusing on one game and one game only, or rather one experience only. It's football, and so I think here our focus for the medium term and long term is we'll build the best football game there is on Ethereum or on blockchain, and this will always be our focus for the time being.
Awesome, thank you. And to be quite honest, I think some people are more like into football, so football might you might have a larger sort of addressable audience there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say the similar thing is and Dapper Labs is based in the US and in Canada, and NBA is massive over there, NFL is massive over there, UFC is massive over there, and they have the contacts, they have the network over there. And we based in Europe, and I think we have the contacts, and we have the I would say local supporters, local knowledge around football. So again, like we are friends with the Dapper teams, and Dapper team love what they do. They also engage with what we do, and we can really complement each other and coexist in a very cool way.
Awesome, glad to hear the co-opetition basically going on.
Exactly.
So the next question comes from Ian Smith, who asks, to boost the collectible side, it would be cool to see the players promoting special limited edition cards, similar to what you see on foot. Is this something you are considering?
Yeah, definitely. I think I see a future, to be honest, where players actively collect on Sorare. That's really part of that's one of my own personal goals is to have football players, coming to Sorare and to the Sorare team and asking, can I get my card? We actually have one card that hasn't been released yet, which is a player edition card. So, if I'm a football player, I can claim my player edition card, and the difference with foot is that then once I own that card, I can use it, I can sell it, I can do whatever I want with it. And so we really want football players to engage with the platform, and we're building ways for them to engage with the platform. And I'm sure that by the end of the year we'll have multiple football players that will have collected their player edition card and that will be playing Sorare. And that will probably have some news in the coming weeks and months. So yeah, that's definitely something we have on our radar and very excited to push forward with.
Ooh, this is a very interesting question next. From Ian Smith again, but it's cool to see that star players are also scorers on Sorare. But who is your favorite under the radar player who performs well on Sorare?
Yeah, I think I'm a sentimentalist, so I'm really, what I love about Sorare is the game, but it's also like the sentiment of, you know, connecting with a player and connecting with a card. My favorite card is Maradona because it's Maradona, but yeah, he's not a player anymore. But I would say my favorite player at the moment that, you know, is under the radar to some extent is Kaveh Rizai and Ali Golizadeh. Golizadeh especially, he's an Iranian player from Sporting Charleroi. And yeah, he's kind of like the Iranian Messi, you know. And so I've been watching, you know, his highlights of, you know, his games, and, you know, just really connecting with the player. And so I feel like I nearly know him because I own his card, and I've got his, you know, 1 out of 100 edition rare card of this year, and really happy. I think it's my only first edition card, and so yeah, really happy to own him and connect with him every weekend.
That's super cool to hear. I'm like, it almost sounds like, you know, everyone's trying to become like, you know, some people might be aware of the game Football Manager and really try to like find those high potential people, right, to bring on their team and just collect them.
Yeah, I think there's a massive element, and we've seen a lot of Football Manager fans come to Sorare because the scouting aspect is really, really important. So, and so, you know, part of the market experience of looking for a player is you know, that scouting experience, and we'll look at improving the products from that perspective, so that it's easier to scout the kind of players that you don't even know exist, but, you know, based on, you know, the criteria that you're looking for, you know, age, number of goals or assists and stuff like that, will make that discovery experience a lot better, hopefully, in the next coming weeks.
Gotcha. And then I'll take three more, three more questions. Before then, we you know, I guess you know, close up the AMA. But next up, Alex Dobbins asks something very interesting. Are there any plans to introduce divisions based on managers' gallery value to give new users a chance to compete for cards?
Yeah, I mean, this is an idea that you can find in traditional fantasy football, like in FanDuel, and this is a very interesting idea. That's something that we are looking at and exploring. We haven't taken a decision about that yet, but having kind of budget-based leagues definitely interesting, and that's something that we really future. So if you know, if you have any cool ideas about that, I mean, really what we do is we listen to the community. We look at, you know, where we might have issues, bugs, improvements, performances. We also co-build with the community in terms of where we want to bring the products, and that's really one of our core beliefs, is that we only have a great product if we listen to what communities members thinks should be, you know, happening on the platform, and based on, you know, the constraints or where we want to go, we try and build with that. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that we are exploring now for the future, and happy to gather as much feedback as possible.
Awesome. Glad to hear this back and forth feedback loop going on, because eventually the community does build, and, you know, it is a big part of the ecosystem. And it's great to see you guys are like really making sure you guys communicate a ton with the community. So the next question, before I guess the second to last question now, Spencer Coffin asks, what is the overall aims in terms of exposure to leagues? And this is, I think, the critical question part. Is it the plan to have all clubs in all European leagues involved? And is there a timeline here?
Yeah, I think, you know, top 20 leagues in the world, that includes most European leagues. We would need to check. I don't have the exact names of the leagues in mind, but the way we look at it is top 20 leagues in the world by revenue. So you can really look at it. I think you just type it in Google right now. These are the leagues that we are targeting. So this is, you know, the first, I would say, milestone from the licensing perspective. And, you know, ETA on this is a complicated one because, you know, we are having discussions with most of these leagues now. But depending on, you know, contracts they already have with other collectible experiences and stuff, there just might be a bit of time to wait for these. But what's for sure is that we'll have at least double the licenses that we had last year on the platform, and that yeah, we are looking at all the top European leagues, all the middle European leagues, and all the top out of Europe leagues. So that also means, leagues like the Argentinian league, the Colombian league, the Brazilian league, and something like that.
Awesome. And then eventually, I think you will expand naturally, sort of the community, the players as well, the users as well, by doing so.
Exactly. Licensing is a way to grow for us. The more licenses we have, the more these license holders talk about us, and the bigger number of users are joining the platform. And also, the more licenses we have, the more interesting the product becomes for everybody, because there's more scouting available. There's more clubs that you can really connect with. I think a lot of our fan base, or a lot of our managers today, and so they engage with the product, but they don't even actually, just like you, JK. I know you're a fan of Manchester United, and despite not having Manchester United, you're already using the product. And I think if we had Manchester United, you would use the product even more. So I see licensing as a way to grow externally, but also internally. And so it's very exciting, and something that we need to have all the time, and that we will continue having all the time.
Well, it seems like I'll have to, I'll be opening up a wallet a bit if Manchester United does arrive. But I do want to also voice something around anecdotally about what I've seen in Korea as well. Like the moment you guys released K-League, that you guys onboarded K-League, there was a ton of media sources talking about this, and it was just super interesting to see some of the hardcore K-League fans just talk about it and say oh, this is something interesting, and they'll try to check it out. And I've actually seen some, Korean people actually go in and just buy a few players out of, pure interest.
Yeah. I mean, when we do licensing, part of the playbook is, having the license holder communicate in social media, but also doing some PR in that specific, would it be local or global PR in that specific country. So and we're only scratching the surface what we can do with the K-League, and what we can do with Korean crypto enthusiasts, Korean football enthusiasts, Korean gaming enthusiasts, and I'm sure there's a lot.
Oh God, I'm really. This is gonna be fun. Opening up my wallets to buy a ton of Sorare cards. So the final question now comes from Abdul Kader, and I want to rephrase this a little bit, because it does name a specific gaming company, but I just wanted to make it a bit more generic here. And so do you plan to work with existing football or soccer game companies that already exist out there? And do you see a possibility where the Sorare cards are are used on those already existing game platforms?
Yeah, the vision is for us to build an ecosystem of games around Sorare, and part of that vision is not only for people to build new games around Sorare cards, but also for existing games to include Sorare cards in their experiences. So I think it's still a bit. It's not going to happen this year, unfortunately, because there's a lot of what I was saying earlier on, a cultural shift, also for gaming companies to go from owning themselves the game and the game items to decentralizing their gaming items, and also incorporating gaming items from other platforms. But I really do see this happening, and we are pushing for this with game devs, independent game devs at the moment, and bigger gaming studios. So some gaming studios are more keen on experimenting with blockchain assets. We part of the Ubisoft program, and so Ubisoft has been historically engaging with a lot of gaming companies in the blockchain space, and there will be exciting stuff in the future, and exciting releases around these kind of potential implications of side games built around Sorare cards.
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering all those questions. And before we move on to your closing remarks and saying our goodbyes, I do want to announce the 4 winners of the Sorare card giveaway that you guys have graciously decided to give away for the AMA. So I will be naming the winners here, and then please do post your Twitter handles so that one of our team members can collect them and reach out to you separately. So let me just name the winners quickly. The first is Florian Roulier. So FLORIAN, spacebar REUILIER. Florian Roulier is our first winner. Second winner is Jiffy 12. So that's spelled GIFFYTH 12. Congratulations. Our third winner is Introducing the Bob, without any spaces. And our final winner is Ian Smith, Ian spacebar, Smith. Congratulations to all four people. Please do post your Twitter handles, and one of our team members will collect them and reach out to you. And so while they're doing that, let's then move on to like your closing remarks and a few last words to the community before we jump off.
Yeah. But listen, it was a blast, talking with you, JK. For the cards, I think the winners will get the 4 cards probably by tomorrow, before the game week. At least that's our commitment. And yeah, I think I'm really excited to see you, Stakefish, work on ETH 2.0. I think there's so much potential around ETH 2.0. And in the meantime, for layer 2s and roll-ups, and really excited to with the help of great partners like Stakefish and UJK, expand the Sorare collectibles in all parts of the globe, in Asia, but also Latin America and Europe and North America. So yeah, really excited. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and let's talk again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much again, Brian, for joining this. It's been a blast, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with real applications that users are using out there like Sorare in the future. I'm really excited to see where this community also goes. But yeah, let's do this again sometime very soon.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you, everyone. But yes, please search for Sorare and also Stakefish, and be on the lookout for the next AMA. Thank you, guys.
Yep, we're off.